I will say this. The other point that I want to share with you, and something that I'm very passionate about, is blind spots. So Manisha and I, we had to learn the hard way when we got married. So Manisha herself comes from a home where her parents, separated, and she saw a lot of verbal abuse and physical abuse in her family, and so she was carrying some baggage with her, and so was I. So though my parents were together, there wasn't a single week that I can recall growing up where my parents didn't have a war of words at home. And I remember thinking, well, if this is marriage, I don't want it. And so I didn't date, true story, I didn't date anybody. I ran away from women for like years and years and years. And so the first person I ever got to know as a friend was Manisha, and that was at the age of 29. So I was so terrified and so allergic to the whole concept of marriage and women in general, that throughout my 20s, I did not even know how to relate with women, because for me, I saw my parents and I was like, whoa, if that's marriage, I don't want it. And here's the other trap, right? Coming to the Lord from a Hindu background, you read the scriptures and you're like, David, Bathsheba, Samson, Delilah, women are trouble, dangerous. Right? So as a new believer, I'm like, okay, women are trouble with a capital T, stay away from them. Stay away from the ladies in church, all ages, So true story. So I had a very low view of women. I have to say that, I'm not proud to say it, but I had a very low view of women, because all the women that I was aware of, or whatever I heard from preaching, were all these dangerous women who, cause the men to stumble and all of that. There wasn't much preaching, and you don't hear much preaching in church about women of faith. You don't hear much preaching about Deborah. You don't hear much preaching about Esther, these amazing women of faith, right? You hear about all the men, but you don't hear about these amazing women. Side note, that's a topic for another day. But blind spots, right? And so for me, I was like, whoa, I'm not so sure about this whole marriage thing, this whole marriage deal. And so for me, both Manish and I had to confront and deal with some blind spots. Blind spot number one, we had to have some very crucial conversations about our history. We had to also trust the feedback of others more than ourselves, right? And so sometimes, we all are a product of our experiences, right? So we have grown up in our homes, and we have heard our loved ones or our parents communicating a certain way, or there are certain rhythms and certain standards in our respective homes that may not be kingdom standards. They may not be Christian standards or kingdom standards, but because I came from a Hindu family and she had her own journey in her family. And so we had to have some very crucial conversations about, whoa, wait a minute, how are we going to do this whole thing? What's the way here, right? And so we had this journey of giving and receiving and listening to feedback, and sometimes even having conversations with friends where they were giving feedback as well, right? You need to have safe friendships where you can actually talk about some of your challenges and give and receive feedback. That's absolutely critical.